right, what's good, everybody? I told everyone on Twitter, if you were following me on Twitter, that I was going to do an alternative draft class because the first one, y'all kind of came hard on the comments. I was coming a little bit hard, I think a lot of it was just people not understanding, maybe new to my channel from the past few years. My draft classes always are based off of my statistical formula, and some of the guys who might be second round picks might end up having higher ratings than guys in the first round. It's kind of like a predictive type of a thing. So this is what maybe, based off my formula, what I predict that they'll do. It's not totally unheard of. If you look at it, I mean, Jimmy Butler was the 30th pick in the draft the year he came out. I mean, if I told you some of the names that went before him, Jimmy Fredette, people like that, all were drafted ahead of Jimmy Butler. So, Alec Burks, Bismack Biyombo, Jan Vesely, Derek Williams, the Morris twins, all of those guys were drafted ahead of Jimmy Butler, but who's the better player? So just because a guy was drafted later doesn't automatically mean he's not going to be a good player. So that's that. But because most people want a draft class that kind of has the ratings mirror where the guys were drafted, I went ahead and I created one that would work out more in that range. So didn't change everything altogether, but I did do some changes here. D'Angelo Russell, I still believe is the number one player in this draft. I think he's he's the biggest superstar in the draft. So I put him at an 80. I also paid a little bit more of attention to what they're saying is reputation for certain guys. Like, even though Karl-Anthony Towns did not knock down any threes in college, I shouldn't say didn't knock down any, he didn't show enough three-point shooting for me to use it, bump up his three based off of, my normal formula. I gave him a little bit more love on that end this time. As you can see, the three, I gave him a 70 standing three, which is decent. I just couldn't bring myself to make it higher than that just because he hit some threes in a workout. I mean, I just, can't do that. Jahlil Okafor, here's the 77, Justice Winslow, Mujier. So you can see these ratings are much more in line with where the guys were drafted for the most part. DeLon Wright was drafted in the 20s, 23 or something like that, but I still kept him high because statistically he did a really good job in college last year. So Cameron Payne's there. It's only 1 point off of DeLon Wright. So and another thing, you can't get too gassed up off of the ratings, the overall ratings, because this game is the ratings are weighted by the position. So that overall doesn't tell the whole story. It's all about what their specialties are and that sort of thing. Like you see here, Hezonja is a 75 and Mujier is a 75. Now, but Hezonja has an A in 3-point shooting. So, the way most people play, Hezonja is probably going to be a more deadly player because he can knock down the three. So we'll see, what that, how that works. Frank Kaminsky here, and like RJ Hunter, he shot 30% from 3-point range last year. So I went on his last year's statistics, even though, yes, we know years before that he shot the three really well, and his reputation as one of the best shooters. So the last ratings, I didn't give him really high ratings there in three. In school, at the combine, I kept him at a 72. Stanley Johnson, Rondé Hollis Jefferson. I actually fixed his last name because I had left the N off. I don't know why I thought it just didn't fit, but I fixed his I thought I fixed his last name. Maybe I did. Oh, actually, you know what? I actually did fix his last name on the one that's uploaded. This is actually the one you're looking at now. It's not the one that's uploaded. So even when you do fix it, it still cuts it off. It's weird why it does that. I'm not sure why, but you gotta change something. I think there's a workaround for that. I have to figure out what that is. But yeah, there's Hollis Jefferson. Now Robert Upshaw did not get drafted. So some people might be like, how are you having a guy who did not get drafted rated ahead of guys who got drafted? Upshaw, the only reason he didn't get drafted is because of his off-the-court problems. He got suspended from Fresno State's program as well as the Washington Huskies program. Had that not happened, Robert Upshaw would have been a lottery pick. So he's playing with the Lakers for summer league team, I believe it is, and the dude can play as long as he can keep himself together. So I couldn't give him a bad rating just because he didn't get drafted. That's where you guys gotta know basketball a little bit. Satnam Singh, Jarrell Martin, Bobby Portis, and like, okay, Josh Richardson was a second round pick. Josh Richardson's going to be a productive player. You just watch. Kristaps Porzingis. Now he went number 4, but the word on Kristaps Porzingis, and if you look at his statistics, he didn't blow it up overseas because they don't essentially let the guys play very much when they're young. But the word on Porzingis is that it's going to take some years for him to fully develop. So they're not expecting as much from him as a rookie as they are from the other guys, maybe in the top 7 or 8 picks. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, his ratings, he has really high potential, but the overall rating, I couldn't take it up to 77, 76, so he could be right under Okafor, because that wouldn't be accurate with what most are expecting from him. So for him, I did have to go on that. Now, Trey Lyles, statistically, there was nothing to really pull from, which is why he had a 64 on the previous one. But people are like, hey, he's really talented, he's this, he's that, he's this, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not saying that he's not. But if you're going to be consistent, and I look at the stats, and the formula says he's a 64, just because everybody says he's this, that, and the third, that wouldn't be consistent to change it. But for this particular draft class, I'm giving it to you more in line. So there it is. Kelly Oubre Jr. still a 70. Well, he was a little lower than that before. T.J. McConnell's, I mean, the dude don't turn the ball over at all. He just doesn't turn it over. So I kept him fairly high. Sir Dominic Pointer. Joe Young is really a point guard and shooting guard in a point guard's body. So, that's where he is. So I think everybody probably will like this one a little bit more. The class has already been downloaded 1,000 times, and I hadn't even put this video out yet. So that's that. I hope everybody, can find the best draft class for them between this one and the other one. But, if you don't like it, you don't like it. It don't mean that you hate. All right, I appreciate everybody watching. Subscribe, follow if you haven't done that as of yet. Peace. And, God bless.